I get to talk, folks, and out there in TV land, I do talk. But it is my responsibility, which I'm delighted to do, is to oversee our reorganization of our board. Per our policy, our chair and vice chair are elected each year from amongst the membership. We abide by pretty simple rules. I'll open the nomination for chair. You can self-nominate, and you do not need a second. The only thing I will ask anybody who is nominated, I'll ask if elected, will they serve? If one of the nominees does not receive 4 votes, the low voter would drop out, and we would continue till it's down, hopefully, to 2 folks. And then we'll do the same procedure for vice chair. With that being said, I will open up the floor to nominations for chair for the 2023 year. Mr. Halsey.
Mr. Leggett, I'd like to nominate Ms. Sams for chair.
On the floor is the nomination of Ms. Edie Sams, and I'll ask Ms. Sams, if elected, will you agree to serve?
I will.
Thank you. The floor is still open for nominations. The floor is now closed for nominations. Hearing none. All those in favor for the nomination of Ms. Edie Sams, please signify by raising your right hand.
If we can get some concessions here first.
Yeah, exactly. We might want to go, let's go through 12 votes.
Well, that's timely, but all those in favor of Ms. Sams, it appears to be unanimous. Congratulations, Madam Chair. And I'll do the same procedure for Vice Chair. The floor is open now for nominations for the Vice Chair.
I'd like to nominate Mike Halsey, please.
The nomination has been placed forward for Mike Halsey. Mr. Halsey, if elected, will you agree to serve?
Yes, sir.
He is agreed. Are there other nominations? I saw your hand raised.
I was going to nominate Mr.
Well,
Halsey as
you're
well.
you're too late.
Wanted to get as far away from me as it could.
Oh, I thought he was put down here to keep an eye on me.
I'll probably
And he
need to
can
stay.
stay here.
Probably need to.
Hearing no other nominations, there are no other nominations. Hearing none, all those in favor of Mike Halsey for the position of Vice Chair, please raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr.
Thank you,
Halsey. Now, the seating arrangements, I've been told, were randomly selected. Obviously, Mike and Vice Chair and the Chair, if you would like to reconfigure yourselves as to where you'd like to sit, I do think the Chair and Vice Chair should be in close proximity. And do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to go to the middle?
For tonight, you just want to stay, I mean,
I'm fine to stay.
y'all logged in, so we can just stay
Yeah.
if that's okay with y'all for
Yeah,
tonight.
we'll
So-
set up for Tuesday.
For Tuesday, you'll set it up the way
Yeah.
you want. Well, congratulations. If you pass that down to our chair, I can't call you the chairman, you're the chairwoman. And Madam Chair, the meeting is now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Lakin. I'd like to thank all the board members for their nomination and vote, and I'll do my best to do a good job. So next on the agenda is to review and sign the board ethics policy. So it's an annual activity that we go into, and basically the standards are derived from the Georgia Department of Education standards for governance, effective governance. There are 8 different domains that are laid out to organize the standards, and we're going to ask that each of you, having reviewed the standards, sign the document. Do we do it right now? We'll do it in executive session. Next on the agenda is items of information and proposed action items. I'll turn over to Dr. Spence.
Thank you. We'll start with Dr. Whitehead with the strategic plan review.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to everyone. With the start of the year and then some other updates that have been made to the strategic plan, tonight we'll just do an overview and certainly open to any questions or comments that you may have. I was able to add an attachment of the strategic plan as well as a link to the district website where it resides on a regular basis to be able to show you where those updates can be found and how you can access them moving forward. The strategic plan is built around the 5 focus areas of Georgia's continuous system of improvement. And those 5 areas are highlighted on the left of each page for a focus area. And then one of the recent updates that we made to the strategic plan had to do with the update in the accreditation standards. As you know, that's a cyclical process, and in November, I was able to obtain the updated standards that are now presented through Cognia, which historically has been known as SACS, and then Advanced Ed, and now is Cognia. And so they have updated their procedures and their standards, and so the strategic plan has been realigned to what those standards are as well. The outcomes show what we hope to have as goals to meet, and those are derived from department heads and department cabinet leaders, as well as our comprehensive needs assessment, which occurs in the spring. And then these provide the foundation for our district improvement plan for our federal grant programs, and any budgeted items that we have should have a direct connection back somewhere in the strategic plan and the district improvement plan. So we try to make it all inclusive as one document rather than having several notebooks sitting with different plans in them to try to keep up with where we should be with the different plans. The action steps are updated as needed, as well as the outcomes, to sometimes just change the verb in there depending on where we are in the year with it. Cabinet strives to review it monthly and provide updates with our color coding as to whether we feel like we're in progress with that item or if we've met that item. If it were without any coloring in there, it would mean we didn't feel like it had been addressed at all this year. And if it's green, it means that we feel like we have accomplished that for this year. If we reach green somewhere during the year and it's something that would be ongoing, then we usually will then go in and change the actual initiative or the action step to make us look at it in a different light, to go to another level with that particular outcome and that particular action step. The difference, like for the first 2 that are in green on effective leadership, those were institutes that were held this last summer, and so those are completed and there aren't really additional steps for that at the moment, and so we didn't change the wording in those, we just updated that as a green item. And the other items in gold indicate they're in progress. Our coherent instructional systems, we were able to launch Newcomers Academy and get that up and running. We will more than likely change that to monitoring effective implementation. And then we have definitely gotten at a better place with using our tools in Google and our website for lesson resources with our staff. And we have used our ESSER funds to employ those resource teachers to support staff with effective strategies. So those give you some of the ideas of the things and the way that we come about with the coloring and progress monitoring that we do. And again, just as we would expect our schools to have regular progress monitoring of their school improvement plan, this is the way that we're able to regularly monitor what we're doing at the district level to give us some insights. And again, we do strive to update it monthly, and then I try to repost monthly with the last updated date on there so that it can be reviewed to see if there are questions or concerns. I don't know if you have any specific questions. The other things that I would mention, we have talked about in the past, is that currently all of our main agendas, our board agenda, our cabinet agenda, different departmental agendas, principals meetings are all focused, the outline is focused around the focus areas, so that as we prepare for accreditation, it's a way that we can go back historically and find out where all our artifacts are for each of those areas. So accreditation becomes a more streamlined process that is always in progress, rather than getting to, a few months beforehand and then realizing that we needed to have paid attention to some things. So it definitely has helped us in the accreditation process to have all of these pieces aligned.
Any questions for Dr. Whitehead?
I have a question. Were there any key things that had to be updated based on the Cognia standards?
That, we really had a number of things in place. I think one of the pieces that we'll continue to look at is in the supportive learning environment, around meeting the needs of the character education pieces that we're focusing on. There were some increased standards in Cognia this year for that area that we had not seen before.
So we adjusted this accordingly.
The other thing that was, I guess, a nice adjustment in the Cognia standards is that most of everything, even if it's talking about leadership or talking about culture in the school, they're tying everything back to learning. It's not like everything is in its own category distinct. Everything seems to have a tie back to student outcomes and learning in every aspect this time.
Okay,
So,
that sounds like a good change.
mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, we'll move on to Mr. Blackerby with the facilities update.
Just update on our current projects at Glynn Academy. We have the GA gym, the auxiliary gym that we said last month is complete. We're in there now. Now we're moving to the phase of renovating the main gym, mainly surrounding the bathrooms and renovating the locker rooms and providing some handicap accessible toilets and then painting and other things. We should have a GMP ready for that for the next board meeting. Subcontractors are actually meeting over there next week on the 11th to do a walkthrough so they can get on the different bid packages for the work there. And this summer we should be ready to start working on that, provided that we get the GMP to you in February to get approved. The GA Annex floor, the first section of that we were replacing, that work is complete now. We do have the carpet down. I believe Mr. Tootin will do an inspection tomorrow or in the coming days to make sure we are finished there. Now we have a game plan in front of us, and same thing, we can get a final pricing to you for what it's going to take to do the rest of the building. We are going to hold off until the summer to do that, so we're not quite as disruptive to the students and the faculty. And I believe also it'll move much quicker if we don't have as many people around the work around. So that'll be held off to the summer as well. At St. Simon's Elementary, just moved into the new two-story building. Students have been in there the last 2 days. We are still working through punch list items, mainly a lot of cosmetic stuff, and there were a few doors that still need to be replaced. We have some temporary doors, some hardware and other things, and there's still some flooring that needs to be replaced. We have some temporary flooring now, but students are in the building. And we are now ready to move into the next phase, I guess phase 4 of that, which would be construction of the new gym, demolition of the old buildings, the 1950s buildings, and construction of the new kitchen. One part of the new building we're not in yet is the media center. We're still waiting on the media center furniture. I believe the arrival date for that is scheduled for January 15th. As soon as it arrives and gets installed, we'll move the media center over, because we have to free up the media center space so we can start construction of the new kitchen. And Satilla Marsh, as well as the office renovation here, the board office renovation. We've got, trying to finalize the plans for that. We did receive the construction management proposals today. There isn't an item down later on the agenda. We were going to be prepared to present those tonight, we were hoping, but we received a very big response. We received 6 proposals. Some of them were very close, so we wanted to take our time and do some due diligence to make sure we made the right selection on those. So in February also, you can expect a recommendation for CM for both Satilla Marsh and this project as well. As far as moving down to the good report,
Glendale.
Glendale, we'll be prepared to start planning on that in March. As soon as March gets here, we'll start planning on the new construction there.
Yep. Good report. We have that up.
Well, on the
Summary report, I've already gone through the projects on the first page. Probably the only one I didn't touch on was the Egmont Street parking. Obviously, we're now in this building. Are making plans for this summer for the demolition of the Egmont Street building and paving the parking there, or putting parking there. I'm not sure if we're going to do paving yet or the crush and run like we have in the other parking lots, but so this summer that will be coming as well. On page 6, if you want to go there, page 6 of the summary report, that gives you the receipts for this past month. For the month of December, we were at 2.7 million, kind of tracking steady along about 200,000 above what it was last year. And again, well above the projections that we had. Any questions on the good report?
Mike, I know you and I talked about it a little bit, but you kind of mentioned it, we're still going to get definitely 2 quotes on paving the old board parking lot and doing crush and run too, or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Crush asphalt or whatever.
Yeah, Mr. Tootin, he's drawn us a diagram up on that. Yeah, when we
Okay.
put that out for bid, the intent is, just
To look at
do a
both.
cost comparison between
Okay.
crush and run versus doing
Asphalt or whatever.
asphalt.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on the good report?
I think on the board office, just
Yeah, and on 1C there, the board office renovation, as I mentioned, the construction management proposal we had were for this facility as well. We'll have that prepared, ready for February. We are, finalizing the floor plans and primarily the mechanical plans also for our HVAC system that we're going to put in here. This week, we concentrated on, there was a lot of utility discoveries. If you've been around here, you've seen a lot of people on the ground painting lines. We've been making sure we know where all the electrical service and the sewer lines and water lines and everything are, so as we move in to do the work, we don't disable anything that we need to keep running. Should start next month doing some selective demolition on the first wing.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Blackerby? I'll move on to 5A, Mr. Griner.
Yes, sir. Mike, can you pass the mouse?
All right, we'll try it with the mouse and see how this, okay, got it. Yes, this is on the, for our copier lease, which expires at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th, 2023. Mrs. Saunders put out a request for proposal. It was advertised in the newspaper, through our website, and also through the procurement registry through the state of Georgia. Our current vendor is Golden Isles Office Equipment. She researched with the schools. We've had no issues with them. Everybody spoke very highly of them. The service we've received from them I think they've been our vendor for a while. I know, of course, for the last 3 years, but I think even previous to that. Basically the same lease. We're adding one copier, which is at Horizons Academy. The price for the 3-year lease is $224,344.32. It's about a 6.5% increase over where we're currently at. She did want me to point out, we have not had to pay for any overages over the last 3 years. So that does not include if we have any overages, but we haven't had any the last 3 years. So the only other, we received 2 bids. Golden Isles was the lowest bidder. Rico was the second in Richmond Hill. Golden Isles does have an office here in Brunswick, which we also see as a big benefit as well. So the recommendation is to do our next 3-year lease, which would run through June 30th, 2026, would be to go with Golden Isles Office Equipment. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
On to the November financials.
Yes, sir. All right. Get the mouse is all over the place, I'm sorry. All right, we'll look at the November financials first and then the investment report. So the first page is the budget amendments. You'll notice there's a large budget amendment. This is really a carryover from the fiscal year 22 budget that was left in there, which was the $2,000 stipend from the state. This is the governor's $2,000 bonus he did. in an effort just to kind of clean up the budget a little bit. I haven't heard any indications on what he's planning for this next upcoming year. So we went ahead and took that out for now, and if he decides to do one for next year, we'll definitely add that back in. But this is the governor's $2,000 bonus that was in there for last year, so it's really just a cleanup. Focusing on the general fund, try to blow that up. Yeah, hold on, let me see. I might have to.
Right in the center of that plus.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So you'll see our revenues, we're at 67.6% of budget. We received a little over 85% of our local taxes. We received even more in December, so that number will continue to push up higher. So we're right, on track where we were at last year at this time. And when we get to the investments, we'll talk a little bit more about the property tax money. Our expenditures were at 36.1% right here. This time of the year, we should be roughly around 42%, so we're still tracking below on that as well. So the financials continue to look good for the general fund. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And this is typical this time of year where we're getting the bulk of our tax money in November and December. Local property tax money. So any questions y'all might have on the financials? If not, I'll move to the investment report. All right, let's see if I can get out of it. It is hard to do when you're sitting down here. There we go. All right, let me blow that one up. Give me a couple meetings, I'll be better at this.
We've moved into the 21st century, guys.
There we go.
20 years late.
So this is our investment recap as of November 30th. You can see we've got about $20 million in money market accounts and about $83 million in U.S. Treasuries. The average yield on the money market accounts, those have actually went up for December because the Federal Reserve keeps raising rates, which is good for us. So on the general operating workers' comp building fund, those yields are 4.8%, or 4.08%, I'm sorry, I wish they were 4.08% in December. And then on the U.S. Treasuries, you can see the average yield for the top three is more in the 4.50, 4.45 range. Those were bought a little bit later than the East Blocks. That's why those rates are higher. Rates continue to go up and are kind of stagnated now. We did, or on the general operating, took the November and December around $31 million and invested that in also U.S. Treasuries, and the yield on those is around 4.50. So, and then we've laddered those where they'll mature over the next 6 to 8 months. So, and what I'm basically doing with the East Blocks investments is they mature, kind of using the cash flow report that we get from GOO, and then looking to see if we can reinvest those. So most of these are just being reinvested. So we're just kind of rolling the interest as we go along. Down at the bottom, you'll see the interest income recap for November. Total interest income for all 5 was right around $285,000. Should be higher in December just because, as I mentioned, we invested some of the property tax money in, from the general operating account. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
So how much have we made since we started?
It really started in September with that low month. We did it real quick. I actually did it
So we
today.
had all
Right around 550,000.
Since September?
Since September, yes, ma'am. Yeah, we made a little about 25,000 in September, and then about 245 in October and 285 in November. December should continue to go higher because rates have, went up. A 1-year Treasury right now is in the 4.60, 4.70 range yield. Trying to maximize our cash flows. Basically what I do is look at what we have going out and just kind of managing those money market accounts. We're just keeping it there as long as we can and then transferring it back over into, as we pay bills. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And from the East Blocks, the GOO report is excellent. Steve Salmon does a great job working with Mike on trying to predict those cash flows, and that helps me out a lot when I'm trying to invest. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Griner? All right, as Mr. Blackerby said, we don't have 5C tonight, so that is all I have.
All right, thank you, Dr. Spence and everyone. Right now, we're looking to go into executive session for land, legal, and personnel. Anyone that would like to make a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mansell, go first, and Mr. Edgy, seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand. Opposed? It's unanimous. So at 5:25.
And we're going to get a clock.
It's tiny, but I managed to see it. I could have looked. Glynn first, and Ms. Gibbons with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We return to open session at 5:58. Thank you. All right, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Yergin with a first, Ms. Gibbons with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Adjourned.
Night.